Hello? Okay, it's fine now. It's fine now. Okay.
Show me your ID. Oh, no, let me start the recording.
PAN card. Is it okay now?
Yeah, one moment. Let me start the recording. Um, yeah, start the recording. Actually, when you show it, and I'm not yet taking the screenshot, I need it. When you show it, make sure that I can see your face as well as the ID card.
Okay.
Should be side by side.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Uh, can you bring it a bit more closer? Okay. Let me take a screenshot.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've taken a screenshot.
Okay.
You can put it away. I'll save it. Email. So I'll start with saying what I'm doing here. So I'm here to evaluate you for Pattern Foundry, and I'll be giving the feedback on my side on the company. And if they select you, they'll reach out to you, and that. So that what I'm trying to say here is I don't know about the roles and responsibility for which you're being sought for. And this year to evaluate you for Pattern Foundry. For that, it might be a bucket of roles and responsibilities that they're trying to fill. So if you need information on that, you'll have to reach out to the HR person who it was that spoke with you to organize this call, right? So you'll have to connect with them.
Okay.
Okay. Having said that, we'll get started. Can you tell me about yourself?
Can come again? Yeah. Experience of about 2.5 years in Palantir, working in Palantir Firm B as a data engineer. Okay. I mean, my project is on about AT&T company. Basically, I had worked as a back end team. My work is to collect the data from the client and inject those data into Palantir Foundry and pre-process and transform it and as objects create as objects of each column so that users or client can access it without actual programming, coding or SQL knowledge. Basically, AT&T is a networking based company. They will those data were of customers' data who are all have internet. I mean, how much of data usage each customer has used for a month for a certain period of time, and who are all the customers, and how they. I mean, exactly how what kind of plan they have applied for to the AT&T company. Those data were given by the client to us, and we have to pre-process it and as a structured data, and with the help of Contour in the Palantir, you will display it as dashboard to the client. And according to the some client requirements, maybe sometimes they ask this period of time how many customers were newly subscribed some plans in our company. Like that, they will give some requirements, and according to that, we will give that output to the clients. Sometimes we will give it as a data sets to another team who are give it as a dashboard or visualization using Power BI. Sometimes we will display it as a dashboard visualize it using Contour. According to the client requirement.
Before Pattern Foundry.
Before that, I had been worked in a support project. It's a Verizon project. For that time, maximum my work will be some some repeated procedures I had to follow that these types of links will work it out or not. And after that, I have to some draft mail and have conversation with the clients and vendors like that. That project will be around 1 to 1.5 years. After that, I learned some tools like SQL and PySpark, and I get into this project for the last 2.5 years. I've been working on this project.
Yeah, you come to Pattern Foundry from data engineering perspective.
Yes, completely on back end.
Okay, got it. Can you tell me about the upstream and downstream teams and your interaction with those teams? How do you get your requirements? And how do you, if there are any bugs or issues with your output, how do they reach out to you? Can you talk about your interaction with upstream and downstream teams?
Okay, sometimes there will be an issue bug in maybe it will bug in the source data also. In between during transformation only we could saw that there is an issue. In that I have to check the upstream process from transformation part to data set and to the source link, so that this will be like upstream process. If I have to check reverse check at what process what happened every time I run, there will be a version created a version of data sets created. So you have to check if step and okay, if there is some bug in the raw data set means, and so that the data set I got from the client using RID. Maximum it will be like RID links or straight away that some data sets. So okay, this place there is some data, so I have to process it at the raw data set. And if downstream means after transformation part, what will happen and what kind of issues or what kind of process will be happen, and I had to tell to the downstream thing.
Okay. And how does this communication happen? Is it like calls?
Maximum it will be around calls. A team will contact me at that in this process. We had some issues like that. So at that time, I had to recheck that prior process, prior steps. What at what step, what issue, what bug had been happened, like that.
Okay. So these calls are regular calls or ad hoc calls? I mean, I'm asking, how do you get your requirements? There should be some process for you to get details on what you need to do, right?
Maximum client requirements I'll get from the some mails from the manager that this will be the requirements, and these kind of for this duration client had required data sets or visualized structured information like what happened and what percentage of customers have newly subscribed, and this the client will tell the manager, and my team team lead will tell during the call, during that stand up call every day. And every day I have to update the process like what I had done and what kind of issue I had faced, and these informations I'll be telling to my team lead and managers during the stand up call. The stand up call will be happen regularly around half an hour to 1 hour around this duration.
Okay. See, kind of evident.
Yeah, yeah.
And they orally say it, or is some Jira tickets, or do you get some tickets that give you details on what?
Yes, if there is a major issue means they will give it as a tickets, but they want some informations and particular stand up for the stand up call they will on the spot they will ask some information. These informations only given by the team lead to us in the stand up call. Other than that, if there is any requirements or particular thing they are raised means we will get it as a Jira tickets.
Okay. So, okay. So usually, generally, you get it from
If there is some major issue or major requirements, that means we will get it as a Jira ticket.
Jira ticket. Okay. All right. Oh, no. Um, do you know? Do you know what's a write back action type about these?
Action type. Okay. Action type means, Spark can't execute automatically. Spark can't execute if I had write some transformations code in using Spark. Spark means it will not execute automatically, and at that time we have to use action like create this object and update this particular column. Using that update create means we have to trigger that Spark code. That is called action and action types. Basically, it matchment it used in inside ontology. We will write code inside transformation part, and each column we will represent it as object in the ontology. Using ontology object, we will trigger that part. Using that action, we will trigger the transformation part so that it will execute.
Okay. So have you worked with the action types?
Yes, like uh, uh, some at some terms. Sometimes we have to create some alert. If there's data ingestion, if the data ingestion is happening regularly for a certain period of time, at the time if there is some error happens, at that time we have to trigger one alert. For that we have to use some action type like approve alert or update risk level. These were the action type example. These were the action type we have to mention that, so that
So how did you use it? Like, how was it put in the dashboard? How was it? What did it do? Can you talk about that? I mean, did you work on that? Like, did you put that?
maximum I had used during the ingestion phase, because regularly I had to upload data use for a particular during time, because daily that we will get some data, so it's an automatic process. So at that time sometimes wrong data sets files, wrong type of file may we will get. So at that time we have to put some alert or what kind of how much of risk level will happen if that type of file will get into the foundry. So at that time we will mention it like update risk level these action types.
So basically, you go to a dashboard and you click on the buttons that trigger an action type. That's what you're talking about. When you have some issues in the raw data set. Okay. Okay. Got it. So I'm asking, have you created anything that uses that type? Right? So, like for example, you work on a particular pipeline and you're working on a raw data set, and you see some issue and you go there and click on a button, right? In some.
My part is maximum inside the pipeline creation, and maximum it will be like transformation part, like pre-processing, not fully and yeah.
So, do you know about Foundry functions?
Finally, functions. Like what kind of functions?
Okay, there are some Foundry functions. There are some things that you can do in Foundry using Foundry functions. So basically, you can use Foundry TypeScript Foundry, and that provides a framework in TypeScript, and you can create some functions in there, and that can be used in dashboards and uh, in places for API calls and all. You can use it. So I was just asking about it. Yeah, it's fine. You can leave it. All right. Can you? So you're comfortable with PySpark, right?
Yeah.
Can you share your screen and open a simple notepad? I'll give you some scenarios that I like to see about. I don't need the code to be perfect. I'm not asking for the import part, the Spark session, the transform, the decorator. And all. I just want you to see what the query provided.
Yeah. My screen was my screen was notepad or any notepad. Case my notepad is visible. Okay, okay. 1 second. I'll reshare it again. Okay, is now is that visible? Okay.
Okay, you can maximize the notepad. You don't need to.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say there's a sales table. Okay, and it has two columns: employee ID and transaction date. So each row is about a particular sales transaction, and the employee ID contains details on the employee who did the transaction, and the transaction date is the date on which that particular transaction happened. So each employee might have 10 rows, all with the same employee ID and different transaction dates. And similarly, it will be there for all employees, right? So that's the sales date. What I want from that table is for each employee, I want the latest transaction date that they closed, that they worked on.
Um, can you repeat it? I mean, still I feel once again I try to it's a complete. I mean, the voice is a little bit low, so that's why I'm asking. Can you repeat it?
Okay. So let's say there's this sales table. It has two columns in it. Uh, Employee ID and transaction date. Did you get that? Do you
Okay.
on? Yeah. So each row in there is about a particular sales. For one employee, there might be like 10 transactions, each a separate row.
Mm.
And for each of those, the transaction date column will have the date in which that particular sales transaction happened.
Okay. From 25. Okay.
Yeah. So what I want is I want a result. I want you to write a query
Okay.
in which for each employee, it will give the latest transaction date that they worked on.
Recent transaction date. Okay. Latest transaction date and send or so good. I just group that table using employee ID, and with that total number of transaction date for each employee ID will get, and using that I'll get the latest transaction and name it as a latest transaction date using the search short dot show this.
Yeah, that's fine. So now it is. Let's move on to next scenario. So it's the same table, same two columns, but I don't want a summary. Like I don't want for each employee one day latest transaction date. I want all the sales information. So if an employee has like 10 rows, it should have all those 10 rows. but there should be a third column, latest transaction date column, where that employee's latest transaction date is repeated in all 10 of his rows. Okay, so for example, if I have 3 transactions on January 1st, February 1st, and February 10th, for all those 3 rows, the third column, the latest transaction date column, should have February 10 in there.
Still can't understand it.
So, can you, in that table, you put 2, right? So, in the sample table that you put, for employee ID 1, you put 12/3/2024, right?
Yes.
For 2, put it as, yeah, I don't know, 5/3/2024.
Okay.
And then for 1, again, now you put it as 23/2024.
Okay.
Now copy that and paste. This is the input. Copy that and paste it below. I'll tell you how the result should look like. Yeah. Now add one more column on the right side. Name it as latest transaction date.
Okay.
Yeah. Now for 1, it would be in the first row. For the third column, it will be 23/2024.
Okay. Okay. Apple based latest transaction. Okay. Okay. I just add to the, I mean, for once again. Yes. Yes. So I had to create a new column and for
Yeah,
each.
that should their current, then each employee's latest transaction date should be there.
I will, I mean, here I am using from, I have to import a Windows, I mean, window this function. Yeah, and I need to, okay, then I'd used it window function. And after that, I mean, I create a column called latest transaction date. In that part, for every employee ID, I will enter those latest transaction date for each row.
Okay.
They
Got it.
okay.
Oh. Now I'll quickly close one more scenario. So let's say there's 2 tables. One is the sales, that's the employee ID and transaction date, 2 columns. The other table is department table. That has the employee ID and department ID.
Okay, employee ID and
Department ID.
right. Okay.
Yeah. So it says for each employee what department they belong to. Right?
Okay.
So the result that I want is I want the sales table, but it should give the department ID along with the transaction date.
Okay. You know, okay. In this, I had to, I mean, I want that employee ID and their recent transaction, I mean, transaction date and what department name. Maybe here I mentioned it as HR finance. And I also need this details also, right? I want, I mean, you want these 3 columns in a single table. Okay. In that, if, okay, I have a doubt. So that's why I'm asking. If in here employee ID 3, I mean, yeah, 3 is here Salesforce, but for the main table I had only 1 and 2 only. In that part, do I need also third? I mean, I'm going to use a join. So I'm asking you whether I need this Salesforce details also or only this first day reference of first pay be employee ID only. Okay, okay. I mean only this first table. Okay, okay. I got it. Uncertain. Okay, I take this table as df1 table and this table as df2 table. I just mentioned okay. df1 dot join of same way. Okay, I'm using left join so that if there is, I mean, here only I have only 1 and 2 employee ID. If there is employee ID or call 4 and if I have no employee ID information for 4 means it will give it as a result table as department ID as null. Or else or else it will give those information of employee ID and transaction day and their corresponding department ID for that employee ID. So I used left join here.
Okay, got it. You can stop sharing your screen now.
Oh.
Do you know what's a restricted view?
What? Restrictive view means, I mean, for particular for a particular role, people have only access for particular part. we will use condition visibility in workshop. I think that is what you are asking. No, I just know that not really worked out with that part. 1 second, can you 1 second? I just plug my charger. 1 second. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Doesn't matter. It's actually something to do with the data set. It's not about, I was not asking about workshop. Have you worked on code optimizations, PySpark optimizations?
PySpark optimization.
Let's say a transformation, a particular data set refresh is running for too long. How would you reduce the time? What would you do? What all would you do?
I mean, you are asking if that a particular job or particular transformation part is uh, running for too much of time. That is what you are asking. Okay. Maybe maybe it's because of uh, the transform. I mean, that process for happening for entire data set. Maybe it may be one of the cause. So in that time, I will use incremental pipeline so that only the latest data set only process and up not append, not simply append. It will add it to the existing data set so that you yes mm, I mean had worked in but what
Okay. How do you differentiate between a normal transformation and normal job, a normal transformation and an incremental?
okay I mean I had worked in maximum in pipeline builder, so in that time maximum if I had used means using snapshot part, it will lose the entire data set to run again and again. So it will process the entire data set. So by from that we will understand this is a normal transformation for happening for entire data set. At the time we will use incremental pipeline.
How would you convert a snapshot transformation into an incremental transformation? That's what I'm asking. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine with you. Yeah, I've already asked about the action type. Do you know what's a write back? Uh, you have you worked on ontology manager?
I mean object creation in ontology, right? The maximum, I mean not entirely in ontology part. I mean for long maximum it will be around transformation part only.
Okay, all right then. I think I've already crossed the time, and also I'm done with my questions.
Okay, in what kind of part I mean I have to improve, can you tell me? Uh, I worked in this project, but I'm not able to convey it properly. I know that part I have to work in, but other than that, what kind of process I need to improve it from myself?
You are good with the PySpark. You can get to know the other parts of financial foundry that would really help you, right? So, for example, action types. It's actually something to do with the dashboard side, right? So, but you can create that in ontology manager. So, if you're familiar with that, that would people like that. And the optimizations, you can look a bit more about it. So, there's two types. One is code optimization. That's what you were talking about. Um, there also you can do a lot. More than that, you can also add profiles. So we can increase the executor count, the number of executors that are used, the executor cores for each executor, how many cores will be used, and things like that. The memory that's allocated for the transformation, those are all can be modified. It's fairly simple. It sounds complicated. It's fairly simple. You already know PySpark one, so that would add much more value to you. Right? So it's learning PySpark is the difficult part. Um, yeah, so things like that should help you project that
Okay,
even better. Like you can project even better with that.
okay,
Look for profiles, PySpark profiles. Yeah. You should find some. You should find some.
okay. That's it from myself. Thank you.